The drawing is going to be a problem this time. I know it's always a problem. I know it's a point of contention. I'm not good at drawing, and I'm doing a show where I draw a lot of stuff. But this time it's really going to be a problem because we're going to dive into some awesomely, not abstract, but hard to visualize stuff. And I'm going to try to visualize it with this, and we're going to see what happens. No, we already know what's going to happen. It's going to be a train wreck. Hey, this train wreck is going to teach us about how delusions do something strange to your aura. And that is something that actually is going to help the way we think about life get better. This whole show, the idea behind it, the emphasis in it is, look, we've got this problem where the mental landscape is a challenging place to live. And learning more about the premise is there is a actual order to things. And when we know about that actual order, this clears up the things that actually feed into this. It's a false perception of reality that causes all the anxieties and stress we have, rather than, as it likes to profess itself to be, an actual perception of reality. Could it be that this very thing, this very black blob that causes us problems, is one of these delusions that we're going to be talking about today? Okay, like and subscribe if you haven't already. That will be helpful. And we're diving into Swedenborg's Journal of Spiritual Experiences, which is a place I absolutely love exploring, and I'm shocked that you're all here exploring it with me. This is number 4202, entitled About Auras. What the auras of spirits are like that arise from disagreement or agreement, or from differing convictions, is clearly perceived. This is clearly perceived. Who's the subject? This is Swedenborg saying, hey, I have seen this. And we've got already, man, look at these characters. We've got auras, we got spirits, and those things are the kinds of things that you may well find yourself, or you know that your neighbor or sibling would completely freak out about. Like, what are you, auras and spirits, why are you so weird? But this is not weird. Disagreement. We know disagreement. So somehow, already, this floofily stuff and this floofily stuff is tied in to this thing that we all know well and experience. And the promise in this Journal of Spiritual Experiences, which is the raw material behind Swedenborg's amazing set of works, in my humble opinion, you need this stuff to really understand this stuff. There flows in a general disagreement or agreement or conviction, whereupon all particulars present themselves as confirmations, so that one would never know that the matter so stands. Now, what I hear when I read that is we've got our person, okay? In this case, it's Swedenborg, but any one of us could be this amazing stick person. There is an aura, some kind of, well, and I like how he doesn't just leave it at aura. He says, okay, there's general disagreement or agreement, or I like the term that he uses last, there's some kind of conviction. Now, conviction is a state of mind, right? It's a belief. The spiritual world is the state of mind. That everything that we consider just to be these sort of little bits and bytes in our personal mental landscape actually is the movement of spiritual material. That this is the human, not just subconscious, but the human consciousness is this spiritual world. So you have a conviction that actually does have a form. It's some kind of aura. And that aura is able to, on approaching, let's say, a Swedenborg, there is this conviction that is the heart and soul of it, but it leads out into all these particular points of confirmation. So whatever this is, some kind of negative belief about the world. Let's say this is a bad thing, and it's something about, a competitive tribal view of life, and that it's us against them or something. Or maybe it's more particular to you. Whatever's in here, this is you. What message, what conviction is dragging you down, or that's in that it feels like it's attacking you way, or what is driving you to act in ways that are harmful and causing harm in your life, but also in other people's lives. There's some conviction in this whole mess here. And these are the points of agreement that you might, well, that can't be true. But look, point A is true, point B is true, point C is true, point D. So from all these, I've just got to infer that whatever this is, and that this contains within it these points of conviction. This little blob is what's going on in your consciousness, and not just yours, but everybody in the world. This is part of explaining why are some people so adamant about worldviews that you believe to be obviously false. Somebody watching this show would say, this guy seems like he's convinced of a worldview that's obviously false. How did I get here in this position? It's because these auras are presenting me with these convictions. The stronger the aura of disagreement is, the stronger the conviction. This was so much the case that I was very often unable to have any other opinion than that something false was true and something evil was good. Such a general power of conviction pervaded the aura, and such a power in all the confirming particulars. So you have here even Swedenborg, who's a spiritual traveler by the time, very street smart in the world of out-of-body kind of stuff. Also very smart in the world of regular stuff. This is a guy who's very well learned, as you can tell I am, and just had a lot of experience having to write things and debate things and know things. But he can get so wrapped up on this thing that he can even tell, and either it's in retrospect or there's a part of him at the time that just knows this is totally false, what I'm believing right now. But when this thing moves in to his spiritual neighborhood or his spiritual personal space, he can't shake it. He can't shake this conviction. But look at this here. Something false was true. Okay, so that would be the delusion. But also that something evil was good. And Swedenborg, this is what hell is. Okay? He gives this marvelous definition of what's heaven, what's hell. At one point, that hell is when the pleasure of evil is felt as good. That is hell. That's a direct translated quote. That's what hell is. That when you are in such an inverted, messed up state that something that is intrinsically evil. And I don't want to get into the margins of people who are, was this evil or not? And you're saying it's evil, but that's harmful to me. Let's just talk about murdering and the things that are just very obviously evil, and all the way on out. There are these things that are just, even if it's tough for us to suss out exactly, is this particular conviction and action good or bad? When those things that are evil, we feel joy in them, that's hell. And we all have heaven and hell in us. So if you've ever felt the joy of punishing somebody on the road for something you feel like they did, right, we have little bits of hell in us. That is so weird. It is so weird, that stuff that is just objectively gross. And when it's somebody else loving something evil that you can look over that you don't have any kind of affection for, it's very easy to see, like, that is so twisted that you like that, or that you're like that, or that you just don't care about your impact on people. But that why is there a draw to that antisocial stuff in the first place? Swedenborg asserts that you can be spiritually, that actually, I've hopefully chased away everyone who's watching with just a strangeness in the very beginning, but this is let's take it to another level here. Demons, which that's a Swedenborg. If I said before, hell is feeling like evil was good, a demon is when you go with that evil and make it what drives your life, and then you have died and you're in the next life. Swedenborg calls that a demon. The demons have this aura with them. I'll just put horns on it. I don't think you'd really have horns, but that aura that accompanies them can so infect you that even if you know at some level this is not right, it just presents itself as such an enjoyable thing that it just forces justifications in. That's why even in yourself you can be saying, why can't I get past this thing? It's because, man, it's because of the auras, the delusions of the auras. For the same general is in the very least things, or the least things derive the same nature from the general. Just saying, these little points, these little bits of conviction that you think are just independent facts, they have the whole soul of this in them. That's why they're so hard to refute. Okay, cool. When such auras were shown to me, this is where I said the drawing was going to be a problem. And you might have said the other one was not much worse than normal. This is going to be a problem, but I think I'm going to be a pretty sympathetic character here because it's just really hard to follow exactly how you would draw this. So let's try, shall we? When such auras were shown to me, so we're getting a visual depiction of these auras he's talking about before, by colors, as if of a gross bundle of sticks. Gross meaning not fine, I think. Okay, so we've got a bundle of sticks. I don't have that many colors here. We'll say it's a bundle of green sticks. Okay, so we got bundle of sticks, right? Okay. Or beams of wood. Okay, so they could be a little bit, maybe they got a little more heft to them or something. I'll just draw this to indicate there. Okay. Of a color for the most part vaguely sky blue. Okay, so wait a second, man. Okay, so never mind, these sticks are actually not sky blue, but vaguely sky blue. Okay. Then verging to yellowish. So maybe we've got a gradient, or maybe you'd stick a highlighter on top of here. So we've got a little verging to yellowish. This showed how dense the aura is. So somehow, I love just kind of being on the edge of the ability to describe something that's foreign to the world he's in. He can't even talk about graphic design elements or gradients or that kind of thing because there weren't those back then. So somehow this thing here, you can tell that it's on a scale. And when it's further in this direction, you can tell how dense those convictions are. Where else are you getting this stuff? Which first has to be dispersed, surrounded by something luminously yellow, symbolizing an aura of good or truth, which cannot penetrate the aura of convictions. So now there must be some kind of different yellow, but this around here, hey, you want to know something? This is exactly what I always draw here. That we have all this stuff here that's in our mind. This is the aura of these convictions that are causing us problems. And this yellow that's hanging up here, that I always draw as the sun shining down, because this is the divine, this is God up here, getting ready to bring us everything that's awesome and good and true. Why is it up here? It can't come in when this stuff is taking up our mental and emotional space. That is saying here is on the periphery, which cannot yet penetrate the aura of conviction. So this stuff, give it a little red to make it seem just a little more menacing. There, okay, did it. That has to be dispersed. It's just an impossibility of order for this love and truth to get into us. Despite how much God is intending for that and has a plan to make it happen, we have to disperse these auras before it can happen. From those bundles or beams, it can be realized how great the aura is, and when it diminishes and vanishes, that the falsity is diminishing. This all shows how much and how easily one can be. Okay, what is it? What's it all mean? You've got this weird stuff, you got this weird stuff, you had that weird red thing above. What does it mean to us psychologically? This shows how much and how easily one can be confirmed in evils and falsities who does not believe truth from the Lord. I wish he stopped there. I wish that was a period. I'll read the rest of the sentence. And that around everyone who is steeped in falsity and evil, there are such dense auras which cannot be broken through unless falsities and evils are first, over a long period, dissipated. I will say, you ever had trouble getting through to someone? You ever really wanted somebody to think differently, or you feel like you're despairing about your own progress? It takes time. This would be just like physical therapy. It takes time. It can't happen quickly. It seems like, oh, it's just an idea, right? Those can change, but they can't. There's more of substance there. Now, I wish you would stop in here because this is such an important point here. How easily one can be confirmed in evils and falsities who does not believe truth from the Lord. This shows how perilous the landscape is. And I'll try to set this up in a way that feels like it makes sense to me. I talked before about people that have, let's say, worldviews, beliefs about life that you feel like this is doesn't reflect the available data or doesn't reflect a general sense of love to the neighbor or of pro-social behavior. Why can we see huge numbers of people in the world adopting these things and getting caught up in these things that we can sit there and say, how could you ever believe that, right? Well, setting aside that people are individual and complex and can have good motives for things that are false, or maybe we don't see into them. Okay, it may not be that everyone you think is wrong about something is actually wrong about it. We may be wrong about certain things, but there are definitely a lot of people who are caught up in this negative stuff, and it has a hold on them. It's because we are prone to being persuaded and locked into perspectives. That's this whole thing he was describing up here, that convictions that we think, oh, we're all rational and we weigh the available evidence. It's really more this conviction. These convictions can come in, and the false ones are generated out of this amazing propaganda machine that is the whole dark side of the human psyche, which Swedenborg calls hell, that come in, and we can be very easily captivated by these things. And once within them, I'm trying to think of a good sort of biological metaphor. Spider web is a little on the nose, as they say, or a little bit cliche, but say you're in there are all these strands, it keeps you caught. That's how it does it. It does it through these convictions, and that there's just this sort of spiritual ecosystem that you can get in. And if you willingly go with this, meaning not only are you convinced of this, but you are engaging in it intentionally because you find some kind of pleasure in it, then it becomes so immersed in you that God can't just rip it out without damaging your very life itself, because whatever you do in freedom becomes a part of you. So, I hope I'm making a point here. So, that's why it takes a long time, but also you are not equipped overall on your own to withstand the propaganda from hell. That you may think you're media savvy, and you may think you're well studied, and that you can tell when somebody's trying to sell you something, or when a particular information outlet is not objective, and you know, and you can sort through it. But we can't do that. We're not good at that with the stuff that comes into our mind, because it really knows. It's got so many more data points than even Google has on us. It knows exactly what we are, and it knows how to use everything inside us against us. The only way to create safety from that stuff is these truths from the Lord, that the principles, the basic principles that you'd find, that I feel like I find in Swedenborg's material, that you might find in your religious tradition, having a certain amount. It's a tricky line, because you're right, you can get adamant about stuff that you feel like is religious that is very wrong and very harmful. But if you can get the good stuff, having that as a compass and weighing everything that comes into your mind by that's the only way you can stand against this stuff. And even Swedenborg, he's up here saying, I couldn't have any other opinion that something false was true. How did he know that it wasn't just true? I think it's because he had these things, embedded in the floor or the walls. I'm just thinking of something that feels really concrete of his mind. Those auras appear as in full daylight to good spirits and angels, whose auras in no wise agree with them. So we're talking about these evil, or I don't need to keep scrolling up to that thing. The evil auras of falsity. To us, we don't even realize when we're in them. It just feels like I'm thinking this thing, and because it's true, because look at life, this is how it is. To angels and good spirits, it's just as clear as day. It's sometimes Swedenborg compares it to a smell. Something stinks about that. And the stuff that's around good spirits and angels can't agree with that. A repugnance at once arises, so that they are separated. And if they do come together, those having the aura of falsity and evil around them suffer and are grievously tormented. And if by permission auras of falsity and evil should prevail, the good come into temptation, and then into anxiety and distress, as if their breathing were taken away, so that one cannot live in the aura of the other unless they are miraculously tempered. This is why it can be so frustrating if we're here and we just think, just clean everything up, just fix me right now, or fix this other person right now. There are in everything that's negative in us, connections. There are vested interests in keeping that. I'm not even saying that it's necessarily you have other people, spirit form people who have died, who knowing exactly what's going on in your mind, but it's just territory. It's shared territory. It's shared energy, that they're somehow in some way making a profit off you being like this. And they're not going to give that up. This is their territory. And the same, and heaven wants, is its vested interest is the happiness of everyone, and they're probably much more aware of you and who you are, and they want to get in, and they're not going to give up trying to save you. So there is just, these two cannot occupy the same space without great suffering here. The God is, and the divine job is to balance all of these and create the best outcome for all these groups. Oh, you think God is just going to cause great vengeance and smiting against these ones? Because these are people that have made some really bad choices, but God is like all about them as much as God is all about us and these ones, and is really thinking about the long game and eternity, and how can I get you, even through your struggles, to become the happiest you can be? How can I increase the happiness here? How can I temper and make better the trajectory of these lives, even moving against the continual problems they're trying to throw themselves into? It's just a complicated process, so it takes a while, and there's stuff to deal with. And that's the news from heaven. I wanted to say that then because that's sort of the uplifting ending, but then there's this funny little blurb at the end here that we are going to read. A spiritual aura is around everyone, as well as an earthly aura and a bodily one. That the latter exists is obvious to everyone from the exhalation of effluvia, you exhale effluvia, which is so abundant as to form a kind of sea round about a person, as scholars have proved by many experiments. I don't know exactly what he's talking about there. It could well be like the skin cells that are coming off you all the time. Something, we emanate stuff. It could be the smells that are coming out of us. I don't know. I'm sure some Swedenborg scholars know what he's talking about. There are scholars of 18th century stuff. The point is, this is not something that's totally foreign. It's just what's happening on a spiritual level is what's happening on a physical level. And I would argue that all this stuff, weird stuff we're talking about, negative influences, positive influences, us sorting out, we see this in the human race at large. We see people in groups trying to spread negative messages, people in groups trying to spread positive messages, people caught in the middle and moving around. This is just a three-dimensional chess game as well as two-dimensional. And that's, again, the news from heaven. How'd you like it? I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment. Let me know if we can we really stray into Swedenborg's Journal of Spiritual Experiences and come out the other side with something that helps us be happier, more productive, more free people that are better to be around for the people that live next to us or hang out with us. Let me know in the comments, what's this doing for you? Like and subscribe if you want to support the channel. And if you want to really make this possible, we as a nonprofit would appreciate your financial support. OTLEmonthly.causevox.com. That is a way that you can support us just a little bit every month. Lets us keep doing whatever this is, whatever you just saw. We'll keep doing more of that. Thanks everyone for hanging, and hope that you have a great day.